Okay, we are back with another uh, set, so not a lot of delay. So this set is Invasion. We just did Judgment, which was a really good set. Uh, be nice if Invasion is even close to as good. Um, so looking at Invasion, the number of rare cards, they're pretty decent here. This was a bigger set than the last one, so 360 different cards in here. Um, but yeah, Phyrexian Altars like $40, Spreading Plague, Captain's Stay, Collective Restraint, Crystal Spray. So like 5 cards over $10, and then a whole bunch. Elvish Champion, uh, Do or Die. So another handful of cards over 5. And just a whole bunch of rares. They're over $1. Um, I think we do have some rares in here. Like I have a Tefari's moat here, so not. I don't think that's one of the more expensive cards, although we'll see. I haven't seen it yet. I think down here, so maybe I missed it. Uh, okay, here we go. Uncommons. I mean, they're a $15 uncommon in this set. And 2 more there over $5. So Ore Shards, Tangle, Sway of Illusion, Disrupt, Sterling Grove, Factor Fiction, Chromatic Sphere, Backlash, Plague Spitter. So 9 uncommons. There were something here. So that's pretty nice. Let's see what we have in commons. Because commons are, I mean, they're where we're probably going to see the most likely cards. So not a whole lot in commons. We have 2. They're over $1. Crimson Acolyte and Whip Silk. And the lands aren't too terrible in this set. I mean, 4 of them, I mean, one of them's almost $1. 4 of them, they're over 70 cents. I mean, and we do have a stack of lands here. So it's going up the price of everything, but I don't know how many we'll actually have there decent. But let's go ahead and get started. So recover. So I have 3 copies of that. Morning. Doesn't look like I have a spitter in here. I think that was Plague Spitter or something was one of the cards. So nothing there. Head into red. And some Kavu. Do kind of I like this black back like sheet of paper that I'm using now. Um, not a big fan of how the camera keeps on trying to like brighten it up and then make it darker. I don't know. Maybe I need like a white like sticker or something to put on there to be like, hey, you shouldn't I have gotten all these as invasion, right? Looks like it. Yeah, cool. Yeah, looking like red's not going to have anything decent. So, okay. Maybe we'll get some decent ones in our kind of like multicolor ones. So, Tefari's Moat, $1.59. So we do have something there. Unfortunately, I feel like Invasion might have had a lot of cards that were multicolor, and a lot of them may not have been worth anything. Man, going through these cards from this time period wants me to pull out the box that I have, just to see what's in there. Although I looked at it after I found those heuristic studies. Um, Unfortunately, didn't have any heuristic studies in there. I feel like Cauldron Dance used to be a really decent card. Um, because it like you played it during combat, right? You returned a creature card from your graveyard to play, and that creature gained haste, right? And then it went into your hand at the end of turn. At the same time, you took a creature card from your hand and put it into play, and that creature also gained haste, and you put it into your graveyard at end of turn. I mean, so it's like a 6 mana like let's say you were playing black, right? And you know with 6 mana you probably could put some stuff in there that's going to give you a red. Um, or let's say you were playing red, right? You could probably get one black mana at some point by the time you get 6 mana, right? You throw that out, you basically cheat in two really powerful creatures. Um, I guess there's just other cards that are better for that. Show and tell and stuff. Although at the same time, like, hmm, like why is that not? Okay. We're going to try to remember to come back to that. I'm wondering if that's maybe been banned in a whole lot of formats or something. Because like there's a lot of cards that like are really big cards now. Um, right? Where if you had the ability to essentially like cheat them in, uh, yeah, it's coming up as commander also. You make sure that none of these are on the list. There was like a reprint where it's the list, but it was kind of reprinted almost like weird. Um, no, I'm just thinking Cauldron Dance, like, there's really like, why wouldn't you, like, like that card just seems really powerful. Because you're essentially giving yourself two different chances, especially if you're playing black, right? And you're like milling cards into your graveyard, right? Like it can be in your hand or in your graveyard for a creature that, essentially like is going to win you the game when you attack somebody. And there's a whole bunch of those creatures that are out there. Um, or just a creature that wins you the game when it goes into play, right? Creatures that you want in your graveyard, and oh, I have it in my hand, but I have a Cauldron Dance. Like, I mean, I guess maybe the 6 mana is just too much. I mean, that really could be the issue. Oh, we're getting into where like land cards got printed so stinking much. Some of them at least. Apparently that one didn't. So we're almost through our land cards. Only a little bit disappointing to do land cards. Like, it seems kind of like a slow point of these videos when I'm doing a bunch of land cards and I know they're not worth over $1. When I know there's some that are worth over $1, I'm like, ooh, when am I going to hit that? Like, am I going to hit that one? Like I'm sure there's more than two different swamps in Invasion. I have four of them, but it's two copies of two different swamps. So, uh, I'm sure there were. Usually, there's like four different land card illustrations. Um, okay. On our way to green. Gosh, the more I do this, the more I wish Mana Box either red set symbols or Magic the Gathering decided to like do a separate artwork for every set. So I'm sure people like the artwork though. So and they're probably not going to pay artists for there's 360 cards in the set. Like how much are you paying? There we go. Whip Silk. $1.11 card. This really is a lot more like what the other sets have been, as compared to going through Judgment, which was just crazy good. Gosh, I'm getting really eager to get to the more recent stuff too. Like, okay, last color. Let's see, maybe we'll break like 35. There we go. Crimson Acolyte. I'd like to say we have a chance of breaking 85, but that's the last card. Global Ruin. It's rare for 36 cents. Okay. So let's go ahead, add these to a set. I'm going to call that set Invasion. Capital I. Sure for you. All the people out there who type super fast are probably cringing horribly, going, why is it like, why does it take you so long to, you know, type everything out? It's because it's like over to the side. So, okay, Cauldron Dance. Uh, there we go. Ruling. Is legal in Vintage Legacy Commander Oathbreaker, Canadian Highlander, Conquest, Pre-Modern, Pre-DH, and Dual Commander. So it's legal in Commander, but it's not legal in Pauper, which is interesting because it's only like a 30-something cent card. But yeah, it's not legal in Standard or Modern. If it was legal in Standard or Modern, yeah, it would probably, or in Pauper, it would probably be worth a lot more. When you have no creature cards in your hand, if this happens, simply ignore that part of the spell. Move your creature into. Return it to your hand at the beginning of the end step. You must have a creature in your graveyard to cast this spell, since it requires a valid target. If the targeted creature card in the graveyard is removed before resolution, the spell won't resolve, since its only target will be invalid. Interesting, I guess. But I'm not seeing any, like, reason that wouldn't be a great card for a uh, black deck. Although, like, I mean, you'd need something in there that you know, you could use, right? Like, Just kind of looking at where are the best colorless creatures, because a colorless creature, right? Like I know there's some of them. Like okay, like Meteor Golem, like if that's legal in the same set, it would be legal in Commander, I guess. Uh when Meteor Golem enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. So if that's in your graveyard, right, you've just put it in the battlefield. It destroys the target non-land permanent opponent controls. Right, you didn't have to pay 7 mana for it. Right, it then goes into your hand. Right, and then you can cast it again the next turn from your hand. Um, all right, let's just get down this because I feel like there was something okay, like Olamog Ceaseless Hunger. Right, it takes 10 colorless. When you cast the spell, exile 2 target permanents. Whenever Olamog the Ceaseless Hunger attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library. Right, it's indestructible. So literally, Cauldron Dance, if it's in your hand and you have a card in your graveyard, or if it's in your graveyard, right, for 6 mana instead of 10, you can cast Olamog the Ceaseless Hunger, and it gets haste. Right? So it has haste and can immediately attack. And when it attacks, the defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library. Um, don't think it would get the whole like exile 2 target permanents, but uh Imracole, the Promised End. When you cast Imracole, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. Target opponent after that turn, that player takes an extra turn. Flying, trample, protection from instance. I mean, so literally, uh, I mean, in Emrakul costs 1 less to cast for each card type among the cards in your graveyard. Right, so you're already wanting to mill cards into your graveyard. Right, right. So like, sorcery, instant, enchant, creature. Right there's a number of other ones. But you're already wanting to mill cards into your graveyard. Uh, apparently there's like 8 or 9 different types, right? So you can easily get that down to where it's not going to cost you a whole lot. If your Emrakul gets into the graveyard, you cast Cauldron Dance, it comes onto the battlefield tapped, or not tapped, but with haste, right? Which means you can attack for it. It's a 13/13 creature. So you can deal 13 damage to your opponent, right? Because it's flying trample, as protection from instants, right? It would get haste, attack for 13, and uh, yeah, and hilariously, I don't think the whole like you gain control of target opponent Like, you wouldn't get that if it came out with Cauldron Dance, I don't think, because you didn't cast Emrakul. Uh, but it would then go into your hand, and then you could cast it your next turn. Um, it that betrays. Yeah, it that betrays is a 12 colorless mana. Uh, but so it come onto the field with haste, right? It has Annihilator 2. Whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 2 permanents. And whenever an opponent sacrifices a non token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Right? So you can have that in your hand. Oh, it's 12 mana. I don't care. I have 6, right? I'm going to cast that, right? Or if it's in your graveyard, you cast it from your graveyard and it goes into your hand. But it comes out with haste tax for 2, right? If you had 2 Cauldron Dances in your hand, I mean, can you imagine? Yeah, that's kind of brutal. Blightsteel Colossus, another 11/11, as Trample of Infect and Indestructible. If Blightsteel Colossus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Blightsteel Colossus and shuffle it into your owner's library instead. Or into its owner's library instead. So it's an 11/11 with Trample and Indestructible. You could Cauldron Dance it, put it onto the field for 6 mana instead of 12, give it haste, attack for 11, right? And then it doesn't go into the graveyard, it goes back into your library. Uh, Walking Ballista. Yeah, it doesn't seem that great. Butcher of Truth. Kozilek. The Butcher of Truth is Annihilator 4. I mean, that seems like the perfect one. It's 10 colorless mana, right? You don't get it. So when you cast a spell, draw 4 cards, you're not casting it, right? You're doing Cauldron Dance. But it has Annihilator 4, so it comes out with haste, attacks for 12. Your opponent has to uh, sacrifice 4 permanents from you attacking. And then it has the thing when Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library. Right? So it gets all your cards in your graveyard back into your library, potentially. Uh, that's crazy. Olamog, the Infinite Gyre. Another card with Annihilator 4. It's indestructible. So literally, you could have Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth, and Olamog, the Infinite Gyre, right? You do Cauldron Dance, right? That just seems so brutal because you're going hit for Annihilator 4, make your opponent discard 4 cards. It's going to go into the graveyard, and then it shuffles both that card and Cauldron Dance back into your library. right? So really, you just need a way to draw like a whole bunch of cards, and have 6 mana. And I mean that's assuming you aren't like milling stuff into your graveyard. I mean, like, imagine like Artisan of Kozilek, which is a 10/9 for 9 colorless mana. It has Annihilator 2. Like, and then you also have Kozilek Butcher of Truth, right? Which has Annihilator 4. Is a 12/12, so you're dealing 22 damage to somebody with creatures that have haste and Annihilator 6 total, so they have to sacrifice 6 permanents. And then you would end up, like, if Artisan of Kozilek was in the graveyard, you end up with that in your hand, right? And you end up with all the rest of your cards in your graveyard in your library. Yeah. I don't know. There just seems to be a lot out there. Anyway, I am not really sure why I'm still streaming all this stuff. But I think we will go ahead and call this an end to this stream. So, yeah, I think Cauldron Dance is probably underrated, but unfortunately is a band in quite a few formats. So, anyway, let's go back. Invasion. Yeah, price. Well, so I have 3 cards. They're decent. Okay, well, I will be back probably later this week. I don't know if I will stream anything tomorrow because I have quite a few cards to sort through now. Because we're starting kind of on the next group of cards they sorted. So that is all for this stream.